welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to see about the eligibility requirements for the ILR and a full checklist before making an ILR application. It is very important to check the Home Office requirements to be hassle-free, also to save your money and to make a successful application. Each application is different, and I'm just going to give a complete overview of what the ILR requirements are, and I highly recommend you to tailor it according to your circumstances. A quick disclaimer before going to the video. I'm not an immigration lawyer or an immigration advisor. This video is just a quick guide for your reference to bring you up to the speed. This is completely on my research, and I strongly advise you to check the Home Office website before making the application. Let's see the overview and benefits of indefinite leave to remain. So what is indefinite leave to remain? Indefinite leave to remain is otherwise called as permanent residence or settlement in the UK. So if you have been in the UK for a specific period of time, and if you have been on the specific visa category, there is a qualifying time of period for every visa category, and if you live in the UK and satisfy the requirement by the Home Office, you might be eligible to apply for the indefinite leave to remain status. On obtaining UK indefinite leave to remain, you no longer have any visa restrictions on your stay in the UK. ILR status also entitles you to change employers, as you have no more visa restrictions to stay in the UK. You can change companies, or you can even do your dream job indefinitely here in the UK. After 12 months of indefinite leave to remain, you can also apply to become a British citizen and also apply for a British passport. Different visa categories where you can apply for indefinite leave to remain. The Tier 1 visa category is a category where you can invest in the UK, and you can apply ILR as quick as 2 years. So it depends upon the amount of investment you do in the UK. For a 10 million investment, you can apply for ILR in 2 years, and for a 5 million investment, you can apply ILR in 3 years. There are so many different visa categories where you can apply ILR. One of the other category is the Tier 2 general visa category, which I specifically applied for an ILR a year ago. Tier 2 visa category is a category where an employer sponsors you to work here in the UK. So it's a category where you need to work for an employer for 5 years, and then you can apply for an ILR. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to work for the same employer. You can change employers, and then you can obtain a new Tier 2 visa from a different employer, and then you can apply for the ILR after completing successful 5 years on a Tier 2 category. Similarly, a PBS visa dependent category is a category where your spouse or your wife is here in the UK and they have lived in the UK for 5 successful years. They can also apply for the indefinite leave to remain. There are different other categories like long residence category. If one stays in the UK for more than 10 years legally in the UK, they can be on a different visa categories like a student visa or a spouse visa or a sponsor visa from any of the employer. As far as they are legally living in the UK for more than 10 years, they are eligible to apply for the ILR. So most of the categories has a qualifying time period of 5 years where you can apply for the indefinite leave to remain. You must have continually been in the UK for at least 5 years in most of the visa categories. You must have kept a record of the dates where you have absent from the UK for the last 5 years, or for the last 10 years if you are in a 10-year category. You must meet the financial requirement before making an application. There are so many different requirements for each and every category. Let's say if you are in a Tier 2 category and if your employer has been sponsoring you, there is a certificate of sponsorship code where employer needs to pay a minimum of salary to satisfy the requirement. One of the most important requirements from the Home Office is the Life in the UK test, where you can go and book your test on the government gov.uk website. You need to pay a £50 fee, then pass the Life in the UK test before making an application. There should not be any criminal convictions or breaches against you while you're living in the UK. So if you have breached your immigration status, let's say your visa got expired and you are still living in the UK, that's a breach of immigration status where your ILR might be rejected. English qualification requirement where you need to sit on a B1 test, or if you have done your UK bachelor's degrees here in the UK, that's satisfy your requirement. If you have done your bachelor's degree back home, you might need to obtain a UK NARIC certificate, which basically tells that your bachelor's in the home country is equivalent to the UK bachelor's degree here. Many people think that ILR status is automatically obtained after you live in the UK for a qualifying period of time. It doesn't actually. So you need to make an application, and then you need to pay the fees, and you need to follow the requirements here plugging in this video, and then get a decision from the Home Office to have a ILR status. You need to make sure that you have not stayed outside the UK for more than 180 days in any 12 months of your qualifying period of time. Calculating continuous period. Calculating continuous period is the number of days you've been absent from the UK in that specific qualifying period of time. The applicant must have a valid visa for the whole qualifying period of time. So I made another video on how to calculate the absence, and then I've also made a video on how to prepare the supporting documents and how to upload the documents in the portal. I will leave the link in my description. To calculate the relevant qualifying period, you need to count backwards whichever is most beneficial for you. It can be the date of application, it can be the date of decision, or it can be any day up to 28 days after the date of application. You also need to provide the evidence of all your absences. It can be a business trip, or it can be leisure. You need to see your passport to see all your absences, or you might have your own data to provide the home office before making the application. Not all the visa categories need this. A tier 1 investor visa on an entrepreneur visa and the exceptional talent visa on the tier 1 category doesn't need to provide this evidence of absences to prove before making an application. I will show you my Excel sheet which I prepared for my application to show my absence in the UK for the last 5 years. This sheet will give you a quick summary of how to get your holidays filled. So I've got 5 columns here: date I left the UK, date I returned to the UK, the country I visited in that specific time period, and then the reason of travel if it's a business or holiday. Then the last column is the number of days which I spent during the time period. If you see the third row here, I've left the UK on 9th of October, and then I've returned to the UK on 13th of October. So to calculate the number of days, you don't need to take the date you left the UK, which is 9th of October, and then the date you return to the UK, which is 13th of October. So in between is 10th, 11th and 12th, which is 3 days. That's how I'll calculate the number of days here. It's very important to assess your ILR application. After waiting a long period of time, you don't want to be in a big hustle, pay a lot of money, and then to get the visa rejected. So it's better we check the application. It's very important and crucial to assess the requirement to avoid the refusal from the Home Office. In case of any concerns, it's better to ask the Home Office. If you need any clarifications, you can ask the Home Office. It might work in your favor rather than getting the application rejected. There are also other things we need to check before making an application. If you or your spouse have the ILR status, and if you have kids, you can also apply ILR at the same time. If one of the parents hold ILR, and if your child is under 18, they need to apply the ILR at the same time as you. This needs to be taken into consideration before making an application, as you need to pay the application fees for your kids as well, which might be expensive. So it's better to think in advance. So many people have questions like how early they can apply for the ILR. The earliest you can apply for your ILR is 28 days before your visa expiry date, provided that you have entered the UK within 3 months of your visa entry clearance date. So for example, let's say an applicant got the visa clearance on 1st of September 2016, and they have entered the UK by 30th of October 2016, which is less than 3 months from the entry clearance date, which is 1st of September 2016. They are actually eligible to apply the ILR on 1st of September 2021, which is 5 years from the entry clearance date. So in this case, they are perfectly fine, and they can apply 28 days before, which is 3rd of August. In some cases, I've seen applicants where they have not entered the UK for more than 3 months after the visa was issued. In this case, they're not meeting the Home Office requirements, and the caseworker may not count the period between the entry clearance date and the date applicant entered the UK. If it's more than 90 days, then this might not meet the requirements, and then the applicant might be in trouble, where the ILR application might be rejected. My personal opinion is to wait the whole 5 years and then apply for the ILR. Let's say if you're on a tier 2 category on a 3-year visa, and then you'll be getting an extension for another 3 years. So there's no harm in waiting for the whole 5 years to complete rather than getting the application rejected. So this is a checklist where you need to see before making an application. So we need a signed application form, 2 passport size photos, which is a standard UK size, valid passports and the expired passport after entering the UK. The application fees, supporting document, appointment with the UK VCS to give the biometric information, and also to submit all your supporting documents in the UK VCS portal, and the confirmation from the Home Office for your application. I hope you like this video and find it useful to make your application. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. All the very best and good luck with the application.